This is lesson 2-4 from the Algebra Readiness textbook. Gather a sharpened pencil and your notes packet and work these study guide problems. When you're done, continue the video. All right, as you know, that these study guide problems are similar problems to those that you will see on a quiz or an upcoming test. So we want to make sure that we know how to do this very well. When you're simplifying an expression, it's always to your benefit to change subtraction to adding the opposite. So let's start out by rewriting this as 7 plus negative 2 times 9x plus 6. Some of you like to do this and squeeze the plus sign and the negative in there. That is also okay, so long as you realize that when it's time to distribute in the next step, that you need to distribute the negative 2. So I see that I have negative 2 sitting next to a set of parentheses. That tells me that I need to distribute and multiply each thing or each term by negative 2. Now, a common mistake is for kids to say 7 plus negative 2 and call that 5. That's not right. We have to distribute because that's multiplication. And the order of operations says that we multiply before we add or subtract. Negative 2 times 9x is negative 18x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. That was the distributive property. My next step is to rearrange my terms so that my like terms are by each other. I need to switch negative 18x and 7. This allows the 7 and the negative 12 to be next to each other. The property that allowed me to switch the order was the commutative property of addition. Now, the property that allows me to group those together without the negative 18x is the associative property. Negative 18x plus negative 5. And so negative 18x minus 5 is another way of writing negative 18x plus negative 5. Make sure that you are good with knowing that both of those mean the same thing. All right, if you need a little more time to get that written, pause the video now. Otherwise, we're going to go and work the next problem. All right. Again, we have the distributive property here. I see that I have 12 minus 4 times negative 8v plus 17. My first instinct is to subtract 12 minus 4, but we know that's not right because we have to multiply before we add or subtract. And the distributive property is multiplication. So let's change our subtraction to adding the opposite. And then let's distribute. I need to multiply negative 8v by negative 4 and 17 by negative 4. So let's do that. And I get 12 plus positive 32v plus, now 17 times negative 4. That's going to be negative. Now, think about this. I could think of 17 as 12 plus 7. So I could take 4 times 10 and get 40, and 4 times 7 and get 28 in your head, and get 68 as your answer if you did this in your little think bubble. All right, so that was using the distributive property. The next step is I need to get my like terms next to each other. I can do that using the commutative property and switching the 32v and the 12. Then I could use the associative property, and that allows me to group together my like terms. So my answer, let's see if I can squeeze that in here. 32v, now 12 plus negative 68. The signs are different, so I need to subtract them. And I get negative 56. 32v plus negative 56. That was the associative property. Now also know that that's the same as 32v minus 56. Those mean the same thing. All right, if you need more time to write that down, pause the video. Otherwise, we're going to work the next problem. All right. In this problem, I see another part where I have the distributive property. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done first. I need to multiply 2x and y by the 6. So 12x plus 6y plus 2y minus 12x. Now I see that I would like to get my like terms next to each other. So I'm going to move this 12x over here. 6y plus 2y plus 12x, and then at the same time, I'm going to switch this to adding the negative, plus negative 12x. My next step is to use that was the commutative property. The next step is to use my associative property to group my like terms and add them together. 6y plus 2y is 8y. 12x plus a negative 12x, that's 0. 8y plus 0 is still 8y. That's the identity property. So my answer is 8y. All right. Here's a quick review that you have. Pause the video, give these 4 a try. It should go pretty quickly, and come on back and compare what you have. All right. For these, number 1, write the variable expression. The sum of x and 46 is x plus 46. Number 2, for less than g. Remember the words less than. We starred that in our notes. That means that the order changes. Normally, you just write the numbers and the terms in order that they occur in the word problem, but not if it's less than, fewer than, not decrease by, less than, fewer than, or more than. That word than gets ya. And so g minus 4 you should have gotten. Number 3, t decreased by 5, t minus 5. The quotient of z and 26, z divided by 26. All right, you're all warmed up. Let's work on today's lesson. Today's learning target is to identify different types of equations and then check your equation using substitution. We've got a couple vocabulary words today. The first vocabulary word is an equation. An equation is a mathematical sentence with an equal sign. There are 3 types of these equations. There is a true equation, a false equation, and an open sentence. A true equation simply means that the one side equals the other side. A false equation means that when you do the math, you get something like 1 equals 6. Does 1 equal 6? No, that's not true. So this would be a false equation. A true equation is something that's actually true, like 5 equals 5. Well, that's true. An open sentence simply is an equation with a variable. So then you can't solve it all the way. Those are the easiest ones to see. If it has a variable, you say open sentence. So let's write down the definition of open sentence. A special type of equation with one or more variables. So here's an example. Do you see that this equation has a variable? It has the variable a. I could never get that down to a single number unless I knew what the variable was. So we call that an open sentence. Pause the video if you need more time to write the definitions. So this should be pretty quick. All you have to do is look at each equation and tell me, is it a true equation, a false equation, or an open sentence? Well, what is 6 plus 12? In my mathematical history, I've learned that 6 plus 12 is 18. So this is 18 equals 18. Is that true, false, or an open sentence? Because that's true, we write the word true. Next problem. 6 equals 4 plus 3. Well, let's solve 4 plus 3. 6 equals 7. Is that true? No, that's not true. So you would write a slash through the equal sign and write false. The last problem, 6y equals -3 plus 5y. I immediately notice that I cannot simplify this like I could letter A and letter B because this one has a variable. When it has a variable, we call it an open sentence. Pause the video, make sure that you have all of that in your notes, and then continue when you're ready to go on. When you're ready to go on, you're going to do the next 3 problems in your book, in your notes packet, and then compare your answers to mine. All right, hopefully you had enough time to try these 3 problems. The first one, 2 equals 3, is not true, so I say false. It asks me to explain. This is your explanation. That is okay to just use this as your explanation. The next one, I would say, is an open sentence. It's an open sentence because it has the variable x. The last one, I got 20 equals 20. That's true, and 20 equals 20 is enough for your explanation. All right, give these 2 a try. Pause the video, work the problem, and then come on back to compare. This one is an open sentence because of the variable x. The next one requires me to solve both sides. Whenever I see an equal sign, I like to draw a line down it so that I don't confuse that this is really like solving 2 separate math problems and comparing the answers. So what I see here is 6 and then times -3. Now I'm going to change this to adding the opposite, or you could do a super plus sign. -3 plus 5, I have learned to be 2. 6 times 2 is 12. On the right-hand side, I need to simplify the parentheses first. -4 plus 10, that is positive 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes. So I would say true. And why? This work is my explanation. I'm showing you why it's true. Now, you might also be asked to write mathematical word sentences as equations, not just as expressions. So in this example, I have 9 times the opposite of 45, or opposite of 5 is 45. And then state if the equation is true, false, or an open sentence. Now this shouldn't be too difficult for you because you've worked with some of this before in previous chapters. 9 times the opposite of 5. Okay, let's start in. 9 times the opposite of 5. Well, the opposite of 5 is -5. The word is always indicates an equal sign. And then 45. So 9 times -5 equals 45. Is that true, false, or an open sentence? Now I need to do the math. 9 times -5 is negative 45. Does negative 45 equal 45? No, it doesn't. That is false, and I put a slash through the equal sign to explain my work. All right, try this one. Pause the video and come on back and compare your answer. All right, the first thing we need to do is write the word problem. 20 minus x is 3. So let's just translate that. 20 minus x. Remember, the word is always means equals 3. Now, 20 minus x is 3. True, false, or an open sentence. I learned that anytime you see a variable, that it is an open sentence. So because variable x, or whatever your variable is, but this one is x. All right, the solution of an equation, write this down in your notes. The solution of an equation is the value for a variable that makes the equation true. So let's do an example of that. Let's say that I used w plus 2 equals 5. What value for w makes this true? What value for w makes w plus 2 equal 5? Well, w would have to be 3. That is the solution to the equation. Because it makes, if I would substitute a 3 in here, that would make 3 plus 2 equals 5 true. So we're trying to make true equations. So is 30 a solution to the equation 170 plus x equals 200? Well, I need to swap out or exchange the x for 30. 170 plus 30, does that equal 200? And the answer is yes. So yes, 30 is the solution. How do I know? There's my work. It's your turn to try. This is written kind of funny, but do you see in this example how it's written all so long? Is 30 the equation, da 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 da. They could have done this. 170 plus x equals 200, and then put a semicolon and written the number 30. That means put x as 30 into the equation. So when you go on to these problems, what they're really saying is x is 1. In this case, t equals 1. Means m equals 6. So what I would like you to do is only work with this equation and ignore everything after the semicolon. Okay? Okay, let's give it a try. Pause the video, substitute the number in, solve it, and then tell me if it's a solution, then press continue. All right, 8 plus 1 equals 2 times 1. Anywhere that there is a t, I replaced it with a 1. 8 plus 1 is 9, and 2 times 1 is 2. Does 9 equal 2? It doesn't. That's not true. So, no, it makes a false statement. So, no, not a solution. The next one, when I substitute or swap out the m with a 6, I get this equation. I get 9 minus 6 equals 3. Does 3 equal 3? Yes, that's true. Since it makes a true statement, this 6 is the solution. And there is my work to prove it. All right, so now Let's use this in more of a real life context. A diver's equipment weighs 35 pounds. The diver plus the weight, plus the equipment weighs 165 pounds. Write an equation that represents this situation. Anytime you're dealing with a word problem, we always read it 2 times because it gives your brain a chance to really think about and put together what's happening in the problem. A diver's equipment weighs 35 pounds. That's his backpack or his oxygen tank and all of that stuff. The diver plus the equipment weighs 165 pounds. Write an equation that represents the situation. Well, it would really be helpful to know the weight of the diver in order to figure out the total weight. So if I called the diver's weight W, I'm going to define the variable like I'm defining a vocabulary term. W equals the diver's weight. I could then say that the diver's weight plus the 35 pounds of equipment is equal to a total of 165 pounds. Is that true? Or does that look right to you? Now it says, the next question says, can the diver's weight be 200 pounds? So they're asking, can W equal 200 pounds? I need to substitute 200 in for W and solve. 200 plus 35, does that equal 165? When I solve this, I get 235 on the left and 165 on the right. That is a false statement. It's not true. So no, 200 is not a solution. All right. Try this this example about camping. It's a similar one. Read it twice and then try to write your equation. A tent weighs 6 pounds. Your backpack and tent together weigh 33 pounds. Use an expression or use an equation to represent the situation. Let's try again. A tent weighs 6 pounds. Your backpack and the tent together weigh 33 pounds. Use an equation to represent the situation. Now, if I take the weight of the tent plus my backpack, it should equal 33 pounds. I know that the tent weighs 6 pounds. So let's call the backpack, let's define the variable B to be the weight of the backpack. So 6 plus the weight of the backpack equals 33 pounds. I have now written my equation. Does the backpack weigh 27 pounds? That means that I need to put 27 in for B and see what I get. Six plus 27 does equal 33. 33 equals 33 is a true sentence, and so I would say yes, 27 is a solution because it makes the equation true. All right, I think you're ready to try some independent practice. Here is your assignment. Pause the video, rewatch the video, contact me on email if you need some extra help. Otherwise,